All right, welcome to Wealth Cartel, where hindsight's a motherfucker.
Our mission is to stop people saying, I wish I had a listen, and to help people capitalise on everyone else's mistakes before making them themselves.
In summary, our tagline says it all: turn our hindsight into your foresight.
So we're just a couple of lads from the west and the central coast who grew up without really any wealth around us and used it to motivate us to make something of ourselves.
Along the way, mainly as we matured, we did a lot of things right, but more importantly, we made a lot of mistakes.
A lot of mistakes that could have been avoided by not being know-it-alls and actually listening to what others had told us instead of thinking, no, not me. So my name's Akko. I'm a small business owner with a bunch of franchises called Pen on Picasso at the moment, with large plans of building a large business portfolio.
I'm Kingy. I'm a financial advisor looking to break the mold on what good advice should look like and start teaching people how to enjoy life to the fullest while also planning for tomorrow out of my business, 3 Kings Wealth Management.
Down here at Bella Vista Hotel, guys. Bella Vista Hotel has got a podcast room set up here for everyone to use. It's a great spot, good little setup for us. Nice little backdrop as well, if anyone's seen the backdrop. So, yeah, if it looks familiar to you guys, this is Bella Vista Hotel. Get down.
Get down here. It's got great food, great drinks, great cocktails, a good little atmosphere, not just for the podcast. They come down for the podcast or come down for a feed and check the guys out. Thanks for supporting us.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy the episode.
Sweet.
All right, welcome to Wealth Cartel Podcast episode 12 with the amazing Janay Harding. So Janay is a up-and-coming female MMA fighter. She's featherweight, fighting out of Bellator at the moment. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No worries. How are you today?
Yeah, good. Other than this morning, as we've talked about. But good now. Good now that I've got my teeth.
Janay's a real committed guest. We've had people pull the pin on us for nothing before. And Janay knocked her own fucking tooth out this morning and still showed up. So we're good. So it's fixed.
She was shadow boxing and she couldn't flip it.
Just whacked myself.
What did you do?
I literally, so we do, in SNC, we do like these resistance band like punches. So you see the resistance band coming from there. I have the handle, I push that way. And as it was coming back, it just went whack into my face. And I was like, and we looked on the ground and it was just like this big chunk of my tooth. And everyone was just like, and I was like, I don't know whether to cry or just keep going on my sets. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. And then, yeah, lucky I got into the dentist, got it capped, got it fixed, and we're back.
You're going to have to start wearing mouth guards.
To SNC? Yeah, literally. I have said that to the dentist. She was like, you need to wear your mouth guards.
You think you're training tough?
Yeah.
No.
Try harder.
We wear mouth guards for strength and conditioning.
Literally.
So, Janay, give us a bit of an intro to yourself from your perspective. Who are you?
I'm a 26-year-old mixed martial artist. I've been fighting since I was 18. Previously, I grew up in Christchurch, New Zealand. I was born in Christchurch, and then I moved over to the Gold Coast. Grew up most of my life from about 10 on the Gold Coast, doing my high school and everything there. And then I traveled a bit around the world. Lived in Thailand, lived in Scotland. Went all over Asia and kind of went around the US a little bit.
Fighting?
Randomly. Yeah, just like opportunities, not necessarily fighting all the time. Like I fought in like Hong Kong and a couple of places, but it was more like going to the UFC in Singapore, going to Las Vegas to like meet up with some people like around the Contender Series, and then just doing bits and pieces and just kind of traveling. I think once you start, it just ended up rolling into a massive travel bug, and then I came back and decided that I want to come back to Oz, but probably relocate to Sydney just because of the more opportunities and
heaps of places to train.
Yeah, easier to fly out of here, like just general opportunities, and it all kind of worked out. And here I am, probably about been in Sydney like 2 years, but yeah.
And where are you fighting out of again?
King's Academy at the moment, in Moorebank.
Must be a good joint with a name like that.
Yeah.
King's Academy. Kings. I didn't ever realise what you said before.
I just got it. Literally. So it's because of Elvis Sinisic, because his like fight name was the King.
Yeah, right.
So everyone's kinging it up.
Yeah, kinging up. Cleaning up.
Another name.
So what was it like for you coming up in the ranks, doing that travel? What did you learn? What was the experience like?
Yeah, it was tough, like especially the travel part. I didn't really travel before I decided to just move over to Thailand. I've been to Australia, New Zealand, and I've been to Thailand once, and then I just decided to save up as much money as I possibly could, sell my car, pack up my stuff, and move over to Thailand, and hope that was going to give me that extra exposure that I needed, because I was running out of opponents in Australia.
Yeah. Where'd you train in Thailand?
Tiger.
Yep.
Lucky enough, I linked up with them and I kind of had a collaboration with them, which was good. So I got sponsorship through that gym. It was sort of like I got there and it was kind of like, we'll see how you go on your first fight, and if you win, then we'll give you sponsorship. And lucky enough, I won.
Was Cobes coaching there at the time?
Yeah. He was there, from before I got there and then during the whole time.
The weapon.
Yeah, he was a G. Yeah, I'd like always not avoided his classes, but knew I was in for a heavy day.
Cobes ex-military. He's a military brethren of mine, and he trains PDM. So he's
okay.
He's a freak. He's an animal.
Any of those good guys coming out of there, it's always like the SSCs with Cobes or
that mentality out of Tiger's different. Like, 'cause they have you just like elbow crawling around the gym and bleeding, and like if you're hurting, you don't stop. That's when we start.
Yeah.
First Thailand trip I went on, there was a dude that he'd come on our trip, and then we went home, or we were supposed to go home, and then he was going to Tiger to train. So it was like 7 days of partying. We were like 3 days in. Someone that he was with, someone like that knew that he was coming there. We seen him out, and he was like, he fucking blew up and was like, "What, you think you can come here on holidays and then come and spend time with us?" Grabbed him, was like, "You're fucking coming with us now." Like, ripped this dude out of our holiday. And he was like, "How do you think you're just going to drink piss and come and train with us? It's not going to work. You're not going to make it." And then we were like, "Oh fuck!" Like we thought they'd abducted him. Hey, like he knew who they were. He'd been before, but we thought they'd taken him. And we were like, "What the fuck's going on here?" And then we stayed on. So to punish him, they took him and they were like, "You're fighting in a week."
Oh.
Yeah, you're having a fight in a week. And we were like, and he was like, messaged us like, "Hey boys, if you want to stick around, I'm having a fight." And we're like, "Fuck yeah, we'll stick around, we'll go watch." And he got the shit kicked out of him by a Thai dude, like fucking hammered. And then they were like, "Right, there's your punishment, back into training." And they knew the guy was going to fuck him up too.
We went to PP. When I went over there, went to PP, and I was in like my peak condition. We were on a military trip to Malaysia, and we stopped and we did 2 weeks in there. And I went over by myself and I went to PP. And I was partying like didn't really party before that. I was just training, and I got it blind. And then the night before I got blind, I got this big dust up with these tires, like heaps of them. And the next day though, I'd planned to, have that anyone can jump in the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had that, and everyone's like, "Can you get in there? Get in there?" Because I was the only one in that group that like fought, and they're like, "Get in there." I woke up so sore. I was like, "I'm not going nowhere." These little tires touched me up. There's like 20 of them just head kick. I was just like, "Oh,
yeah." But do you see when you're in the crowd? Like I've been to probably 8 fight nights there now. Like I've done, and if I go to Thailand, I'm going there. Like that's there's no point going there. I mean, if you like that sort of stuff,
yeah.
To like people, I don't understand it, but you get like a blind Aussie dude and his mates going, "Go on, fucking get up there," and I'm like, "What? Don't you get in there?" Is it like you get like a 6'3", 100-kilo Aussie getting smacked around by a 65-kilo Thai?
Yeah, it's pretty like
he's just leg kicking and body kicking him, and this dude's like crying on and they don't leave him alone.
Yeah,
but that was the only one in our group that trained like knew what a leg kick was, like had it, and like I'm like and you're watching because they were like, "Yo, we're gonna bash these." I'm like, "Bro, you'll get one chop and you're running," and like, "You get in there, And I'm like, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then after that night, I was like, "I'm not going nowhere."
So do you reckon that was like obviously you saw in Bellator now, like Bellator starting to really like hit lengths in a sense where people are now talking about it in relation with UFC, especially in regards to like there's been a lot of chat lately about, title holders from Bellator being able to fuck with people from UFC. And I know Dana come out and said, "Oh, fuck, we released those dudes." But some of the fights you're watching, especially at the peak, like some of those you're thinking, "Fuck, man, that dude's pretty bad dude." Bellator is really starting to grow.
They're like, "Oh, we released those dudes," but Michael Chandler's now like the backup for the Khabib and
and you got Lima. Like Douglas Lima is a bad motherfucker. You got MVP.
But they took Rory McDonald on Rory McDonald was on a 4-fight win streak when he left and went to Bellator.
Yeah,
he
got smacked. He got beat by Robbie. I think he got beat by Robbie in like that match, and then he lost 2. And then he was like 4 back-to-back against good dudes, and he was just sick of fucking UFC and went to Bellator. So I think it's pretty it's a fucking.
I think I'm sick of hearing people. I'm sick of hearing people saying they're shit because they're in, but like people like that conversation one across to one UFC, Invicta across the Bellator, like they're bad motherfuckers. Like there's a very little difference between some people in there are better than people on the roster in the biggest organization. It's just opportunity as well.
People were saying too, a mate of mine compared it to the NRL and then the Super League in England, right? And people say the NRL is so much better to watch, quality-wise so much better to watch. Well, it's so biased because at the end of every year we send an NRL side over there to play our best side versus their best side, and fuck, I tell you what, it's not. There's no blowouts. It's our best versus their best.
It is during our off season though. You got to like they've had Mad Monday. And
yeah, but I still don't think it doesn't matter what season it's in, man. If you're that much better, you're going and smacking those dudes.
Bellator, what I want to see Bellator do, and this was a great example with Arlene's, it's really hard to watch Bellator over here.
Yeah, that's really hard. That's hard.
It's really hard. UFC's made it very easy to jump on and watch. I watch every fight night, every main card.
He's just ringing me, he's messaging me. He's like, "Are you going to come to my house Saturday night? The fight card starts at midnight. The fucking
main cards at 5 a.m. Main fight.
I'm going, bro. I'm
not this Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like,
we train at 12.
I'm not fucking doing that. And he's like.
Separate the casuals from the real thing.
It's fucking Khabib and Gaethje, bro. Like, Whittaker's on the card, Ty's on the card. I was like, fuck, yeah, it is a good card.
That's the problem.
I've got 3 kids, man. I'm not going to hang out.
They're fighting at like 6 a.m. Like
5 a.m., yeah. Ty will be at 4:30.
Yeah.
Ty will be at 4:30. And then Wobber will be about 6. I want to see Jacob Malkoon as well.
Yeah, yes.
But why? Listen, why? Why is it at this time? Why the fuck?
Because the European market.
No, Israel Adesanya fought at midday. We watched it.
Yeah.
The UFC tailored it to the main card. So the European market, that suits their time. So Dana's tailored it because of Khabib.
So it's for Khabib.
Yeah.
I understand that. That's cool. Because there's probably more of those dudes in fucking one of their hidey holes than any of us in Australia that come out and watch. Like those dudes fucking
it's gonna be a cracker card.
In the UK, it starts at like 4 a.m. UFC, and it was like, do we stay up all night or do we like
party or do we train after? Which one do we do?
That's what
Saturday, Sunday, I don't know what day it is.
I was like, bro, listen, if I'm coming to your house to watch that, there's going to be something that has to happen, and I'm just not doing that anymore. So, yeah, just get the replay for me, eh?
Yeah, it's like, do we wake up at just like the normal time and then just quickly rewatch it? Don't check in.
Because I can't do that. I know me. I'll wake up at like 7. I'll be like, Ryan would have sent me the card, and I'll be like, oh, fuck this, who won?
Yeah.
I'll just look it up. And if Ty doesn't win, I'm not watching the fight.
I can't help myself. I can't wait for the replay. I'm a classic. I'll pay $60 for the card every time. But I've changed now. Like I used to go to the pub or whatever. My preferred place is at my own lounge room.
100%.
I've had too many.
No beers.
Mine's in bed.
Too many.
I don't even want to move my bed.
I've had too many dramas. The McGregor versus
Floyd. That was the last one I watched at a pub.
McGregor versus who was it? Fuck, man. There was a massive all-in at Black. I had my kids, my missus and my kids, and all there was a group of us. It wasn't out. It kicked off, and my mates are like, and I'm like, fuck, let's go. Like we got to go. And my missus is like, fuck them, don't worry about them. Your mates can handle themselves. I'm like, I can't stand here and watch this. We got to leave. It's before the fight. It was before the fight. And then I had to leave and fucking didn't watch the fight.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's less fights at the actual fights live
than where you're 100%.
Crazy.
But I would now, like, I train after now. Like, I watch. Because they've been finished about 2 p.m. lately, like the cards. So I'm finished, I'm jacked. I'm like,
he goes and wrestles his fucking 90-kilo dog. He's got this monster dog. He's like, posts these videos of him wrestling this big dog. I'm like, bro, he can't wrestle back.
Yeah.
Fucking can. I didn't even rear naked the other week. I didn't even rear naked and he fucking got out. I was like, jeez.
Uh-oh.
I was like, I'm sorry.
It's a joke.
I got his paw and I was like, just do it to me. So let's talk about, obviously the journey to being a fighter is not easy, right?
Yeah.
I think the one common trait we got between, Arlene and Charles and anyone, and, talking to Jamie Malarkey, and it's not easy. Like everyone watches the Connor story and thinks, I can jump on the dole and I'll get there, but it's so hard. Like, look at Arlene, she still works. Like
100%.
And so when did your mindset shift to sort of pursue this rather than being maybe a bit flippant? Like, I'm sure there would have been time where you're like, I'm not sure if this is for me. When did it change you to go, no, this is me, let's go all in? And how did you do that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like at the start, it was obviously like, let's just see how I go in my first fight. I mean, you never know. You never know if you're going to fight or flight. And for that reason, we waited till my debut. I did really well, and then so I was like, mad, like let's give this a go.
Where did you debut? What card was it?
It was on an Aftershock card. It was back before Aftershock actually did their nighttime cards. They used to do like, so they used to do like same day weigh-ins and then like C-class fights in the afternoon, which means shin pads and no elbows, no spinning things, and no strikes to the head on the ground. So it was all like proper C-class but mainly for all of us who wanted to, you know, get involved and start somewhere, and then maybe have like a couple
without
of
CTE straight away.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you like a bit of a bluer before? Did you just get into fights as a kid?
Literally the most passive person in a sense. Like I was always like. I was a very emotional kid in a sense. I'm an only child. My mom's a single parent. And so me and her used to kind of get into arguments, but like not
But you
physical,
didn't go and
obviously.
fucking choke her out.
Obviously, yeah. And I'd never, like, even to this day, I've never been in a street fight in my life. And I've never been in any altercation other than a controlled environment. And so it was kind of weird because honestly, she put me through every single sport you could think of, like touch football, baseball, t-ball, basketball, hip-hop dance.
Yeah,
just trying
athletic.
to do stuff.
Kiwi chicks and touch football, like that's a fucking big, that's massive. Yeah.
I went to Yamina and we were up on the coast like with the kids, right? And all there's heaps of poly girls there, and you can tell like they play like a female footies game, and you see all the polys.
But you see them running lines.
Yeah, and all the white girls just.
Yeah, even now, naturally, someone will be like, kick a ball. I'm like, yeah, I've got this.
Little girl, like, chip and chase over the back.
I'd be like, I never even played ball sports.
Janay flick in the back.
It makes me laugh. I see that. Like I was a footy boy growing up, and there's still to this day, one of the dudes I played footy with, he's the best touch player I've ever seen. His name's David Campbell. He's a fucking weapon. Yeah. And he was a gun league too, but he was a little bit too little. My microphone. Oh, it's back.
I got it.
He was a little bit too little, but in touch, like you couldn't touch this motherfucker. I don't know why he wasn't playing NRL because they couldn't tackle him. We couldn't fucking touch him. He was a freak, and his missus, his name was Cody Mideye. Her name was. She was a Kiwi chick, and they like you would watch them play, and he was obviously training her. In the chicks team in our school, like you'd have the girls who are like, yeah, I want to be cool and play touch, and they'd be like running up, fuck this, and throw the ball over their head. Yeah. And this Cody chick was a freak. Yeah. And then as you sort of progressively watch, like the Kiwis are the guns.
Yeah, I grew up with Dill Hennessy and his missus up on the coast, and like Dill's like the number one Australian touch player now, and even his missus, like she goes, they play like a mixed comp, she just like,
I'm on your team.
And I was like, yeah, right. Hey, mate, you got the chicks. No.
Not today. Yeah, like my childhood best mate, she ended up representing New Zealand for league. And because I was brought up on league rather than union, and yeah, like it's just sort of like natural somewhat. And I mean, team sports, especially in New Zealand, are really big. So that sort of, and like being an only child, it was just like my mom always wanted to chuck me in hobbies, keep me active, keep me involved with my cousins, like do things like that.
The chicks are the chick sports are like flying at the moment. I like
the growth curve's amazing.
Finally, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fucking good. It's good to watch too. Like I remember a couple of years ago, there's a lot of people frowned upon it, and there was a lot of people saying this and that. I remember going and watching a State of Origin game, New South Wales vs Queensland Chicks at Penrith Stadium, and I was watching. I was like, "Fuck, this is crazy," because the level had just gone. But it wasn't because they were better all of a sudden. It was because of the exposure. People were like, "Oh, fuck, we're allowed to play that shit now. Like we can potentially make money doing this shit." And all of a sudden, the girls who, you know what I mean. A lot of the time, people playing the sport, it was rebelling.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, once it became mainstream, everyone, you know what I mean? Like
it went from being a niche to like an actual career.
100%.
That like step up really makes a difference.
My mate's engaged to Corbin McGregor, who plays for the Roosters NRL, and that like athletically, I don't know if I know a bloke better. Like she's fucking incredible. You watch some of the shit she does, certain things that they get you to do. You know, like they get you to do like the funny shit, like the trick shots. They kick a ball in, or it's got to bounce or something. Like she's a freak. An absolute freak. But 3 years ago, Corbin McGregor didn't exist because, you know, in the sporting world, simply because there was too many ignorant people.
How have you found that in the female MMA? Because that's got a massive connect. Because like we were talking to Arlene, you know, and you throw up, you know, every female has to say, whether you like her or hate her, you got to thank her under her ass for what she did for the sport, even though she was, I'll say it, not a cracker, not that her skill level wasn't that high to where it is now.
Yeah.
But when she was winning, women still threw punches like this, right? Like it was wrestling and BJ. So how have you found it, especially on the lower end? Because that's where you see it the most. You know, you see in the amateur, like when UFC, when she was there and when that was it was BJJ that really dominated, right? Women BJJ, and the amateurs weren't any real crash hot. Now, like you look at like your Chelsea Hackett's and stuff, and going on the Contender Series, they're the caliber of what
it should be.
What the UFC like potentially title contenders were. Then how do you find that coming up through? Have you seen that change?
Oh, it's been massive. Just obviously, like we're saying, that growth in popularity has caused more people to flock towards it, more people to see potential in it, and then therefore it's really grown the quality of the sport. Like I used to cringe for sure, like back in the day, watching amateurs or even watching pros, like UFC, like main card fights.
Throwing punches with their eyes closed and it would be hammer fist standing.
No head off throw punches without the head off the line. Like.
And it's like, fair enough, like it was pretty cringy, but at the same time, it was that learning curve. That was what maybe UFC 1 was with the guys. Yeah. So it's that same sort of growth opportunity.
You've got
and it's just literally jumped up, and then you started to see people like Joanna, people like Holly, all transition from their whatever discipline that they were.
Valentina, that's classic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how can I forget? My bad. Valentina.
She's talking about like transition from the kickboxing like across from the striking to then Valentina's like,
how can I forget?
We just don't want to. We don't want to piss her off in case she's watching. She will come after us.
She's actually the nicest lady too.
Yeah,
another one.
Have you met her?
No, I met her sister, and they obviously
she can bang
a while
too.
ago. Yeah, Antonina's amazing, and they pick stuff up like straight away.
Yeah, their fight IQ is huge.
Oh my god! Like you'll be like, yeah, do this in jiu-jitsu, and Antonina had been rolling, I think, for like 6 months or whatever, and I was like, this is not fun for me. Like this is not helping my ego. Like I've got my blue belt,
and she's just picked it up. Yeah,
and
it's
like,
fucking.
Wow.
You know what? It's that type of thing. I think there's an ego part of every one of us that goes, fuck, this person's just a better athlete.
That's the thing that keeps me out of the gym.
Well,
I don't roll with.
But for certain people like yourself, Arlene, these people that do pursue this career, that's the motivation. It's like you're looking at this person like, fuck you, you're not going to get me.
Yeah.
All right, today, but I'll be back, and I don't have that. I'm like, you beat me.
But it's
next time I see you, I'll have a bat.
I'm amazed with your story about I've been banging my whole life. Like grew up training wise and stuff. Like grew up with. I've never rolled like in an actual rolling. Never had a belt, nothing. But my mates were all like AFC champions when it was early and stuff. And so we just garage fight and stuff. Like we'd train properly, but. Now, and then I joined the army, and I did the same up there, and then I come back down here, and I was just talking to Charles, because Charles is trying to get me to come train at Evolve and stuff as well, and I'm training out where Mark Hunt, where Juggernaut is as well.
Yeah.
But I just can't, like, people don't get, like, I can't even, I box every other, I train weights, and then I finish with a boxing session or a kickboxing session, and, like, I'm better than most people that don't do it, but I still can't bring myself, I still have that ego trip that I haven't jumped into a classic, because I'm like, I'm a bit nervous, like, to jump in there, I want to get the cobwebs out. People don't see that, like, what you have to do that through training over and over again, get your ass handed to you to get better, and then you got to get a step in the ring and do it. You know, like people don't see the mindset that comes from.
Smashed.
They think it's just a
fight.
fight.
You got to get confident.
Like standing in the ring with someone, even when you first spar someone, that's different. Like it's not like people think about a street fight. I can do that.
I can't do that.
You're getting cowed and you blink.
You know that person is ready to. You know that person's ready to smack. Like, you know they can fight and they're ready to. And you're like,
I watched,
and then you got to throw something and you just miss it, and then you're like, well, that was my one opportunity. It's gone.
I watched that with the front kick every time. Just to get that race.
I watched the spar with Val Borg live. I went and watched do you know Valentine Borg? The boxer. Yeah, so he's a mate of mine. So I watched his spar. He fought this African champion. Dude had come over, and there was like a language barrier, and they were telling the dude like, so Val was getting him ready for a fight, right? And they were telling Val like, listen, don't be fucking throwing big headshots. Like I think he was a week and a half out in Australia or something, and the dude was like, come out, and the first 3 or 4 punches, this dude just went whack, 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 and Val like looked at his corner like, fuck this, I'm not fucking like I remember it, and then he put this combo together, and then they sparred for 8 rounds, and they were fucking teeing off, and the coaches were like headgears, and both of them were like fuck off, and I'm thinking you cunts are friends, right? Like you're fucking paying him to do this, and then they walked away and shook hands, and I was like, nah. no fucking way. You just bashed me like we're fighting again. I'll stab you. Like not
the boys.
But I just can't. I just
go to Fairfield.
I just feel like there's just such a different mindset in people that are able to walk in there, as a professional, punch the fuck out of each other, shake hands, walk away, knowing you made them better.
Like the adrenaline fatigue you get as well.
Yeah.
Like you can train your whole career, get in the ring, and the adrenaline you'll gas in 30 seconds.
Yeah, you can have a mad gas tank and do all the conditioning you want, and then have a dump and be like, whoa, my arms feel like they don't exist anymore.
Yeah,
It's just how it is.
In fact, their dreams, when you're in a fight in a dream and you punch like this, you can fully be like that. Like you can be like
in real life.
Yeah,
sleep paralysis.
And you're like, I know I can hit harder than this.
Yeah, it's not working. Yeah,
all right,
rough, man.
It is hard. So that's insightful. That's very insightful, especially because everyone focuses on, they see female UFC fighters and they focus on your Roses and your
MMA fighters.
Yeah, but I'm actually saying UFC because that's where people think.
Who the fuck do you think he is?
But people think of you of MMA fighters. They think of those girls, but they don't see this caliber and what it takes. What you have to come up. There's now an ocean of talent that you've got to come up through. What let's just jump into the hindsight stuff now and talk about that. What would you, looking back in general, jump into specifics more, but in general, looking back, what are some of the things that you wish you'd maybe changed or done to sort of fast track where you are now? What are some things that you can highlight?
They
probably should have put the fucking aircon on in here. I think it's fucking hot. Shit.
It's on when we don't want it, and it's off when we want it.
It's too cold, too hot. One of those. To be honest, like it would just be, I think, just believing in myself more. Like I've always believed in myself, and like as much as other than my mum, nobody else has got me to this point. Like I can happily thank all the people that have come before me and have helped me out and given me opportunities. But at the same time, I know that everything that I've done, I've created myself, and I've pushed myself to get to this point. And I think for that reason, I always had that little bit of doubt in my mind. Like, can you do this? Like, can you move over to Thailand by yourself? And can you get signed to one of those big promotions? Can you, like, how are these things going to happen? And I think it was just like, one, trusting in the universe, trusting in my ability to manifest the things that I want. And if you truly want things, then the universe will help provide after you're putting things into place. Obviously, you have to be proactive and you have to go towards that direction. But at the same time, if you do so, and if it is true to your will, then it should eventually come to pass.
Yeah.
And for that reason, like, I just feel like there was a lot of like, man, can I do this? Can I, like, I'm by myself. I'm young, or I don't have enough money. Yeah, fucking back yourself.
Is that
same thing?
Yeah,
and
especially the fighters,
like, fuck, I did it.
Especially the fighters. Like nearly everyone we've had in here said pretty much the one thing they do, they would tell themselves when they go back, we have this question at the end, and I guarantee that's your same answer, is they just go, fucking back yourself, because progressively as they've gone on, every time they doubted themselves, they look back and they go, fuck, what did I do that for? But I feel like we're the same, and even like come now, and I've solely believed this too, is I could walk into any room, I don't give a fuck whether you're a fighter, a CEO, or the fucking I don't care. If I go in there, if I be myself and I back myself, I feel like I'm going to walk out of that room and in a sense leave an impression. And that's my side of business or whatever. And then yours is like, once you get in that cage or once you go to training, that thought process of not knowing is the only shield against, because you can lose and you haven't lost.
Yeah.
Essentially. You get what I mean?
You can close yourself off from people. Like, you can walk into a room and be like, oh, like, these people are not going to like me. It's with anything in life, literally, socialization, any event, whatever it is that you're going to, any gym, anything. You can walk into that room and be like, these people are not going to like me. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't fit in. Maybe I'm a little bit too different, or whatever it is.
And that's a social issue at the moment, like in regards to Instagram and the type of portrayal of what you're supposed to look like or what you're supposed to feel like.
How do you back yourself when you see everyone else faking what?
That doesn't exist.
But I think once you've become, and I say this without being arrogant, but once you become like I know him and he knows me. Once you become a little bit like that, where you go, fuck this, I am good enough, or I can do this, your whole mindset changes, and your perception is like we speak about it quite a bit, is the less you focus on them, the more you focus on yourself, the better you are. 100%. So if you're staying in your own lane, I feel like a lot of fighters go, that you see them in interviews, they say, what do you think they'll do to you? And sometimes I see fighters look at the person interviewing them like, are you fucking serious? Like, we're talking about me. Fuck them. Like,
this is my show. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it in their eyes. And like, you see certain people. Like, I remember I watched an interview with like Nate Diaz, I think it was. I think Ginnan manages Nate Diaz. I just fucking found it on his Instagram, so we need to ask him if he does.
I think sometimes he collaborates in a sense. Yeah,
okay.
Like he'll be involved with maybe their Australian opportunities. And
yeah,
stuff,
cool. Yeah. Okay, because he's hooked up with Juggernaut, mate.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was watching an interview with Nate, and he was like, someone was asking him a question, and he looked at him and he goes, "Are you a dumb motherfucker? Like, what the fuck are we talking about him for? Like, it's the Nate Diaz show."
Yeah.
I feel like that too. I feel like when people come up and ask you about your competitors, you're like, fuck them. Like, people say to me all the time, I'm like, "Have you heard of?" We won't say their name, but they're a competitor. I'm like, "Have you heard?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I've fucking heard of them." You know what I mean? But we have 40 and they have 10. Why would I need to worry about that? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I fully get that with fighters. I see these interviews and I'm just like, fuck. It drives me insane.
And it's like, in turn saying that, like, of course that's ego, but at the same time, like, ego, there's a certain amount of healthy ego, and there's a certain amount of, like, when we say back yourself, it's like almost don't allow the other opinions to really penetrate that ego. Mm-hmm. That ego is yours, and it's belief in a sense, and that's
believe in what you know your ability is, but the destructive ego is when you go above that. You know, start being delusional.
Yeah.
You know?
And when you are too arrogant to allow anyone to tell you, "Hey, there's this competition, be aware of it." No, they're never ever going to touch me. It's about knowing that the competition is there, but understanding that I'm better than that, and I will rise above whatever adversity they will show.
If you focus on yourself as opposed to focusing on them, you're essentially you've given yourself a 10 times better chance of
that's where your energy should go. Yeah.
And the other thing you said there, which other people said heaps, is that law of attraction, right? Like that's a massive thing. Is that people sort of, I've probably the last 12 months I read the Secret and started diving into this more thanks to a client of mine who've had on Loz, but people think it's a bit wishy-washy, like, but it's not. It's also almost a formula to, one, you're backing yourself and you're doing the things you know need to be done. And it's like, you know, people say you create your own luck through hard work. It's really what the law of attraction is. It's just more opportunity.
What's wishy-washy?
You know when your washing machine breaks and you've got to wash your clothes with your hands?
No, I gotta get a new one. Wishy-washy, what the fuck?
You know Paulo Costa's abs?
Yeah. No, he's got good abs from running away. That motherfucker, he ran away. Yeah, imagine if you come and got us. I'll just ring your boy.
I'll be right.
You know, you got us?
I got us.
I'll ring my boy Izzy. Fucking.
We'll get him around. But yeah, I 100% agree. Like, that whole manifestation doesn't have to be the secret. It doesn't have to be any specific thing. You don't have to read a book for it. You just put things in place, things will come past you. And that's how to have good intention. Yeah. Don't just sit and be like, "Oh, the universe will provide for me eventually." It's like, no, go out there and fucking start doing stuff. Set your goals, set your intention, put things into play, and then eventually, like, just things will pick up around that. Like, the tooth, it's like, yeah, that sucks. But I put it out there. I was like, don't cry, not wasting energy on it. Who gives a fuck? Like, it's already happened now. I have a broken tooth.
You should have showed up to the podcast with a broken tooth. That makes it.
But I called the dentist. They got me in, and it works out for the best. She's going to take off my little Invisalign things. There's a silver lining to everything. Just
Thanks for showing up after that, by the way. We would have not been unhappy if you had said, "Listen, literally broke my fucking tooth. Here's a photo."
It looks this bad. I was going to wear a mask if I couldn't get into the dentist. I was like, I'll pull it off.
Yeah, I love that because I'm massive. My life changed heavily when I started. I heard someone talk about, you know, one of my things is focus on what you can control. Right? And I used to be not negative, but I used to be very emotional. I used to be really emotional, let the emotion affect me, and I'd show it. And we talk about, I can walk into a room and my vibe will change that vibe of the room. And that's where I started noticing it, is if I was having a bad day, I'd let it affect, and it would affect everything around me, and then people would have a bad day, and that was the universe stuff. And you just said it then. You focus on something, and you look at the outcome. Now, late is a great example. Your tooth is a perfect example. Being late, right? If you're late, you're late, right? And I love Max Holloway. It is what it is, right? You run late, but if you focus on being late and you're angry about being late, you're going to be late and angry.
I feel like Max stole that from me.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Fuck Max.
Trademark.
Dan Acton.
Yeah, I fucking stole.
But same with your tooth, right? Like, if you are upset about your tooth, you have a broken tooth and you're upset, or you can have a broken tooth and be positive and get it fixed. You know, it doesn't change anything. And it's
like, you know what? It's going to cost me money. Shit happens. I'm going to go to the dentist. I'm still going to make this podcast. Maybe I'll be late. I'll let them know. If I'm, like, positive about it, tell them what happened. I'm sure they'll understand.
100%.
It's like, it's just be positive. If you, like you're exactly saying, if you're late, then you're angry. Then that will domino effect to your energy on them. Then they'll be angry that you're late, and then they'll also be angry that you're also a negative person. Your energy is now pulling everyone else down. And I say this all the time: energy is contagious, contagious. 100%. So be aware of your energy and how much it's going to affect other people.
Be aware. There it is.
You never know. Yeah, you never know what person's day is going. You never know what their week's been like or their month or their year. And you're going to come in and be like, I don't like your whatever. Like I was speaking to one of my Muslim teammates yesterday, and she was like, yeah, it's annoying because I work in a very like predominantly white area and they call me a terrorist. And I was like, yeah, that's absolutely horrible. And it's like, it's so infuriating, but it's like, how the fuck do they not know that you maybe had a really bad day and you maybe like, I don't know, maybe your home life's not great.
Well, yeah, but you know, how do you not know that you saying that to someone that has potentially that fucking doesn't turn them into what you're saying?
Exactly.
Like if you say something enough, if you come and say to me, you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit, you know, you're a bully, you know what, I'm going to start bullying you eventually. Like, if you start fucking calling me things as many...
Well, you're going to start bullying someone else, at least.
Yeah, and it's just such a predominant, it's such a shit, but like, I have kids, right, and my oldest son, he's soft. He's like his mum, and he's got a beautiful nature, he's soft, and I'm like, fucking smashing. Like, I can't, he come home, he's like, his kid kicked me in the face, and I'm like angry at my son because he didn't throw him, because... Yeah. I would never. If someone fucking touches me, I'm going to, even if I get smashed, I'm going to fucking throw him. And like, I'm trying to tell him, he's like, yeah, but I'm going to get in trouble. I'm like, not off me, don't fucking worry about the teachers.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, but my 3-year-old, this is the difference in having a kid early and not knowing. And then my 3-year-old's like, hey, Dad, are we going up to the school to get this Ryan kid? And no word of a lie.
Boys.
And I'm like, no, you have to stay home. And he's like,
this kid's 3. He's like the age most people most kids barely talk, and he's like, Dad, we've got to get him.
He literally, like, there's no word of a lie. And he's Asics, like, no word of a lie. He goes to me.
Probably is.
He goes to me, and my wife said, I said, son, you can't come. And he goes, I'm coming to fix Ryan up. This is and I'm like, you can't fucking come. He's blowing up. So we go to the school, and like, I'm a pretty positive person, but when it comes to family, it's fucking hard to stay positive when people are picking on your kids and that. And like, I was a prick at school, but I was never a bully. Like, I never fucking, and I still to this day, it's the one thing I hate. Like, you're a footy player, or you've got, you know, you're a jock, and you're picking on kids. Like, fucking one day he's going to run your country, dickhead, and you better remember, like, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I went to the school, and we're talking to the teachers, and I'm like this always. And I'm going to the teacher, listen, if that kid kicks my son in the face again, he's going to punch him in the fucking head. That's it. That's going to happen. She's like, Mr. Atkinson, you can't say that. And my wife's like, babe. And I was like, no, fuck this. Well, tell his dad to come up. We'll talk. Well, I'm not because I want to fight him, but because I'm sure his dad doesn't agree with him kicking him in the fucking head. And when we got home, my wife was like, fuck, I'm not taking you to meetings anymore. And I was like, I guarantee you that kid doesn't touch our kid again. Nothing has happened to him.
Just knowing,
because the teacher's like, you better, like, I go up there in a pair of shorts and fucking singlet and tats everywhere, and the kids are like, Kieran, your dad was looking at me nastily, and I was like, I didn't even know which fucking kid it was.
Yeah, who are you talking about? I didn't even see him.
Yeah,
it's that thing. It's
guilty.
Like, there's repercussions for bad actions, and I'm not saying everyone should retaliate or react to things, because at the same time, when we're talking about energy and it being contagious, someone may call you a bad name, or someone may call you a terrorist or whatever, and you've got to be like, you know what? Maybe you're having a bad day. Maybe you're insecure about your shit. Maybe your life is not going great at the moment, and you need to take it out on me. And so for that reason, I'm gonna take the higher road. But when it's like physical or whatever and it's going on, you really have to know, like, especially from a young age, you're gonna learn. Like, that's just how it is.
You gotta learn
today, motherfucker.
That's just how it is. Like,
that's what I said.
Repercussions to bad things. You need a punishment. There needs to be a repercussion, because you're gonna go through your life, and then you meet the adults now that clearly didn't have repercussions for doing bad things. Got away with it forever.
People. Like, they're the shit
terrible people.
They haven't been touched. Like, I remember you can see people. You've been out at a club and someone says something, you look at them and you think you've never been punched in the mouth. Like, you can fucking tell them straight away. Like, we said to like, my wife actually said to the teacher, she's quite clever. Instead of doing it the fucking idiot way like me, she was like, if you were walking down the street, someone punched you, would you defend yourself? And he was like, you didn't know what to say. And she was like, it's legal to defend yourself. Someone punches you, you're allowed to fucking hit him back. Why can't my son? Like, and the teacher was like, oh yeah, I understand. I'm thinking, fuck, I could have said that.
I love
baby. To me.
Well done.
Come on, why are you going to be articulate?
Why are you going to use your brain in this situation?
But I love this is such a common thing with, like, and you know, we tried with Arlene prior to thing. We're trying to get. She's a great example for Australian and women's MMA, right? Like, to try and get that out there, because a lot of people see it as just brutal, right? Like that brutal. But people don't see you. That was a great example. You said, like, training martial arts in general, you've never had a street fight, right? Like you said that training martial arts for those who have had a street fight or grew up that way, it turns you straight off it, like because it removes that ego and you exactly what you said. You really learn that. Well, that person's having a bad day. If they want to take it home, I know I'm probably going to smoke that person.
Snap his arm,
There's no point in it. I don't need to try and show my ego here. And that's something that I think really needs to be the journey of martial artists, women as well, like the things it does for people as people. Like,
but even to know a martial artist, like I've never really boxed as a kid to fuck around, but even just to be around people like yourself and Arlene and like, or to, have a conversation with Tyson, to know what they could physically do to someone else, that turns me off those street fights. That I don't train. I'm not any of those things, but I've had blues in pubs. I can physically walk away from that now because I just think that motherfucker could be snapping my leg.
But these people are some of the most humble people you ever meet, and it's the mentality that comes with martial arts that you train. Like if everyone did martial arts, it'd be a much safer world. Like it would be, you know what I mean? Like it's such an amazing thing, and what I think I would love to see, especially in Australia, especially for females. Martial arts in the male community in Australia is getting pretty popular. Everyone's a fighter now.
There's a few champions around too.
But
a few Aussie champions.
But I would love to see it for females, like from a reality point of view, from a protection point of view, from a safety point of view, and from a mentality point of view. It creates so many good habits. It's amazing to see.
And I think that all comes down to the ego, like you're saying. Like you get into these situations, you don't have anything to prove because your ego is filled, your cup is full.
You get humbled every day training.
You get smashed. Like it's not like you go to martial arts and you're killing it all the time because now all of a sudden you fight. You get smashed by the higher belts or the better strikers or the whatever it is or the better wrestlers, and because you can't be fantastic at everything. And so for that reason, your ego is just in check all the time. And like it's like road rage, all those little things, maybe conversations, someone butting in line. You're like, you know what, you have it, man. It's all you. I don't have anything to prove. I've got my day ahead of me or whatever. You just have that clear thought for a couple of seconds. But in the back of your head,
you've also got that little, I'd kick your face clean off
But if you
your
do say anything, I'm a fall out.
So what's your thing? Your first style of martial arts was?
I started in karate when I was real young, and so for that reason, I've always kind of gravitated towards striking. Yeah. I've never been like just a striker. I literally went. Everyone thinks that I did. Maybe
do you have like a karate style, or are you?
I still use like a lot of my
I love watching
kicks,
that karate hottie chick. She's a fucking sick chick to watch fight.
Michelle Waterson, she's amazing. Yeah. And she's got such a good team behind her, and they come up with the great game plans for her style. And so then she like offensively puts out like the head kicks.
That was always some of my favorite, like Machida.
Yeah, like Machida was my favorite.
Just watching the way
Whitaker's got a karate style, a little bit.
Yeah.
Taekwondo karate style, yeah.
Imagine like seeing Rob Whitaker on the street and just thinking, he's not that big.
He's pretty big in real life.
He is pretty big.
But he walks around with his
like as in we're not small dudes, right? But he's
I see him big because he just faced off with Rio Romero Tyson.
Like, he's tiny.
But I'm saying, like, if there's some fucking big dudes getting around at the moment, like these big, solid, heavy dudes. Like those dudes are walking around, tats on their face, on their neck, and they're thinking, look at this little, like that motherfucker, he would start you, right? Like just start you in the street. And that's the part where with the chicks now too, moving forward, is like as the sport grows and becomes a thing, you're not going to get the smart asses in the clubs, and you're not going to get this happening too, because people are going to, like, I know for a fact, me and my missus had a drama at Panthers, and I was like, we don't need to fight this. I was looking at him thinking, I'll snap you, but she was looking at this chick and I was like, babe, let's go. Like, there's fucking cameras. Like, this is a while ago. Yeah. There's cameras everywhere. There's people. 5 years ago, I don't do that. And I feel like it's to do with the people I surround myself with, because I just know, there are people out there that would kick my head in, but they're not going to have that fight that night. They're not going to have that drama. And I feel like that's such a massive.
And I feel like even sometimes in martial arts, you do get a few bad eggs, and you do get those guys that obviously were, guys or girls, that obviously were pretty aggressive, and they're trying to now hone that into something positive, and then maybe they still have that in them in a sense. And like even now, like within our community of martial artists, there's been people that I've had to really convince and be like, look, man, if I'm out with you, the shit goes down, I'll back you 100%, but you don't have anything to prove to me. We know, like, in ourselves what we can do. And I was like, if you can walk away from it, then that's what we're going to do. That's always going to be the first choice. And I think, like, convincing people that after like a long
That's the
journey.
tough move. That's the tough
hard
move.
part.
That's not the,
honestly,
you're not
it's
a
putting
bitch.
your ego aside.
That's hard.
You don't have to prove anything to anyone. We can walk away from this and have a great night. We're not going to get arrested. You're not going to get charged. You're not going to have it on security footage. We're not going to remove from this event.
But not only
whatever
that,
it
you
is,
get
like, there's repercussions.
you could have 3 dudes, like literally men, walk up to you and start, and if you snap one of them, you're going to look bad.
Yeah, always, and it's always going to be the MMA fighter.
Just like, oh, you know, and it's not going to say Janay Harding, like female protects herself from men. It's going to say MMA fighter broke someone's nose.
Barbaric, blah blah.
Yeah, and just
They'd
the
go
way
viral though.
that's fucking.
I've literally said that.
Female
so
featherweight smokes 3 meatheads.
Yeah, UFC fighter.
Every woman signs up to fucking to MMA.
And it'd be big for the sport. It'd be big for the sport if something like that happened, but it wouldn't be big for you.
No.
It'd be very bad.
And it wouldn't be positive for the sport in a whole. Like to the casuals, it wouldn't be positive. And I always say that. I'm like, now, especially if you're a martial artist, you're not just representing yourself, you're representing MMA or martial arts, whatever discipline you represent. You're representing combat sports, and we already get such a bad name for ourselves. So if we can do the least amount possible and be like, have that headline say MMA fighter nullifies situation or like doesn't retaliate or speaks his way out of protecting other people.
The only issue with that is that no one's going to write a story about that.
Yeah.
No one is ever going to write a story about you doing something good like that.
No Good Newsweek.
No chance in the world.
There's a hole in the market.
Like, I remember that when Dana had that conversation, he was like, women will never fight in UFC, right?
Yeah.
Like that, and that's obviously he's been hammered about that. But at the time, in that dude's defense, there weren't people, and I say this in the nicest way possible. There weren't people. I didn't want to watch 2 chicks then punch each other because they're
stylistically it was ugly.
Well,
the growth of the sport wasn't at the level that
and like
UFC.
And like the people they were grabbing out, they were like judo chicks trying to strike, or they were, you know, don't get me wrong, they're fucking like judo. They're throwing. But then they're trying to fight, and there's like, you know.
I don't like, gender aside, and sport aside, I don't like watching people who can't play a sport and do it. And that's
at a high level too, on international.
This is why the steroid Olympics.
I'm not paying for this for it to be low.
This is why the steroid Olympics has got to be a fucking
dangerous. Like, especially the early female fighters. I used to cringe because I was like, oh, that doesn't look like she's going to get fucked. But now I watch it and I see it as a sport, and I see an athlete, and I watch them, and my dad and I, like, I'm a golfer. I'm a swimmer and a golfer. That's my background, like top level of sport. And I will watch the women swimmers and the women golfers, and even now the women fighters for technique over men almost any day of the week. Because technique-wise, women are unbelievable. Like, they're amazing to watch.
It's so easy, much easier to have a woman listen to you in regards to trying to hone. It fucking is, to try and hone their skill. Like with a dude's like, ego is such an issue in regards to, like, you've got someone coming over saying, hey man, in the gym, right? Let's put it this way. If I'm benching, and you come up to me and I don't know you, and you're telling me you're doing it wrong, I'm thinking you're a fuckwit. Get away from me, right? True. If I come up to a, you know, just a chick and be nice and say, hey, listen, if you do it this way, they're generally going to go, okay, thanks for that.
I'll give that a go.
Fucking oath. And I feel like that's where, like this, even in footy, like you watch them train and that, a footy dude's like, I'm just going to step off my left, and that's how I'm going to break the line. And if you tell a chick, listen, you bet him on the outside, generally she will listen. It's honestly a thing. It's where, like,
you hear that from a lot of coaches. You hear that, like, the female, they maybe had not had like experience with teaching female athletes, and then once they did, they were like, man, they adapted, they listened, they executed a lot easier than having to get through that masculinity.
Even in my career, like I love working with women, like with money and stuff. Like I love working with women. They're the best.
Well, that's
I targeted when I got into athlete space. I started targeting female athletes because they're so much better to work with. And
I think
as a generic, I'm not targeting everyone.
Not everyone, but I think just generally, it's more women, like that thing that generally, as a stereotype, women are a little bit more mature, and for that reason, they take things like their careers a little bit more seriously. Like men, any man can fight, honestly. Like it gets to that point now, especially that the game is so popular and the sport is so popular that guys kind of like anyone can kind of take it up, which is cool. But then for that reason, they don't think about their brand. They don't think about the behind the scenes, like opportunities, maybe the career afterwards.
For the sake of fighting, it's just for the sake of being able to tell someone you train MMA.
Glory, a little bit of glory, having people come to your fight, telling the boys, I got to fight on the weekend. It's mad, and which is great. But I think a lot of times females have that little bit more maturity where they take things seriously and they're like, okay, I'm not just going to fight. I'm going to change the game. I'm going to establish some sort of presence. I'm going to create a legacy. I'm going to have a career afterwards. I'm going to have a great brand. I'm going to help other girls.
Like, it's
just more and more and more.
And there's so much more realistic to women. Like look at keep going back to Arlene, but like she's still got a job. You know what I mean? Like
amazing.
a lot of guys will go, I'm not working. I'm going to try and fight and do that. And they just think I'll just make the money fighting. Where heaps of women
I spoke to her this morning. She's got a thing. She's going to start pushing. I think it's called the Angerfish Foundation or Scholarship, the Angerfish Scholarship, where she's going to now introduce it. And she said, we spoke this morning, and she said, you know, she wanted to do it if she was a champion. And I was like, to these people here, you are a champion.
100%.
You know what I mean?
For the things that she's achieved, and that's like what I said after she lost, I was like, man, this one loss does not define you at all. I was like, you raised those kids for a very long time by yourself. You started this sport at a very later in the game.
Are you guys mates, you and Arlene?
Yeah. Lucky enough, I've known her since maybe I think I was about 19 or something. And we fought on the same card, and we had a mutual friend, and basically we trained, and then from then on we've just kind of kept in contact and supported each other here and there, because she's very good at advocating women's MMA as a whole, so she's very supportive of everyone. And then just through our journey, she came over to Thailand when I was there, and now I live in Sydney, so we've trained together, we've fought each other, and so we've had the opportunity to really link up constantly and kind of help each other where we can. I don't have everything for that, but she was going to fight on the Gold Coast, and literally I was like, yep, I was like, if you need me to pick your partner up because you have different flights, I was like, I can go grab him. I was like, honestly, it's the Gold Coast. Anything you need, I'll get it sorted. I'll get your hair braided, whatever you need. We got it. And then the week later, her opponent pulled out, and it was me as the replacement.
Bullshit.
Yeah, so I was like,
I'm not picking your partner up now,
anymore. But if you need anything, let me know. But low key, if you need anything.
So you took that fight on a week notice?
It was 2 weeks, I think, all up. Yeah. It was on the Gold Coast. It was a good opportunity. I was in an interesting place in my life where I was really, I had a new direction in a sense. I just got out of a long-term relationship, and I was like, I need to do some stuff. And I honestly wasn't getting opponents in Australia. I'd fought my pro debut against another pro debut. Then I fought Jessie Jess, who was 6-4, and I was 1-0. And then I fought Arlene, and that was
that's a cracker start.
Yeah,
not great.
It
wasn't a great idea, but I backed myself, and
your lessons you would have got from that is phenomenal.
I backed myself, but at the same time, I didn't back myself enough. I could have won both of those fights, and I didn't. The Jessie Jess fight, I didn't win because I didn't make weight, so it wasn't because I wasn't skilled enough. So I literally proved myself that I was skilled enough. I got deducted 2 points, and that made the difference. And I was like, wow, I'm 1-0 fighting a 6-4. I'm clearly good enough to be here, and I deserve to be on the international stage because she'd already fought an Invicta and in Japan.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I have the abilities,
but
I just need to back myself.
Isn't that fucking crazy that, so she's 6-4, she's fought in Invicta, she's fought in Japan, and then she's back on the local show?
Yeah, well,
that's
nuts. Up and down game.
It's fucking crazy.
Man,
that's such a hard thing to go
even
to.
Even Arlene, she'd already fought in Bellator, and she was just in between contracts. She was kind of in this limbo stage, and they'd made this new promotion. She was like, I'll fight on the Gold Coast, and then afterwards she went back to Bellator. It was just in between contracts.
I remember. Was that on the James and Sweeney show?
Yeah.
Did you get? Nah, I heard some fucking stories. There was no cash through that. Fuck him.
Nothing.
I'm glad Ty bashed you, eh? Ty fucking bashed it. You know who that is?
Yeah, I know.
James McSweeney. He didn't pay anybody. He didn't pay any. He's a full flop. Well, Arlene and I have spoken about this a few times. She was like, I never knew that was.
Especially, I was so fuming. She has 2 fucking kids. She's flown to the Gold Coast from Sydney. She's you promised her a Brazilian opponent. That pulled out. You got me. I took it up on 2 weeks' notice. I was doing you a favor as well, bringing the local crowd, and you didn't pay any of us.
But then wasn't Frank Mir a judge?
Yeah, he was a commentator.
Frank Mir was
didn't get paid, but he was happy to not get paid as long as we got paid. He was just fuming that we didn't get paid. Again, Lenny, I forget her last name. I think it might be Hart, the 1FC announcer or Ryzen announcer, the one that does those really crazy announcing.
I know who you're talking about.
She was the announcer, so that was amazing. It was proper Pride style. We
just
all
didn't pay. So he must have
made
made some coin. Fuck, he must have made some coin.
And then fucking jetted out. He literally looked me in my eyes and was like, my kid goes to school here. I would never run out. And that next week, the gym was gone. He was gone. all gone.
Fucking hell.
Jesus.
But for that reason, Arlene and I have seen some things together and separately, and for that reason, I'm also just like a massive advocate for her as a representation of Australian MMA, especially. She has been phenomenal for everyone that's come after her.
I think she's phenomenal to women's sports in general.